All right, hello and welcome to another edition of the AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, and today we are joined by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hello, everybody.
We're so thrilled to have you here today. We're going to be talking about making things pretty on your website with the page builder and other features inside of AttractWell. If you are brand new to this channel, I don't know about AttractWell yet. We are an all-in-one system for you to support your business and grow it. And so if you are a coach, if you are a consultant, a creator, a social seller, a network marketer, if you have a business that serves people, right? If you create stuff that you either deliver online or service otherwise, you basically got a way to manage your entire pipeline from exposure to your brand all the way through to delivering on any multiple levels of how you take payment and provide service or goods in your business. And so we provide a place where you don't have to learn 7 different types of software, pay for 27 different types of software, and spend 30 hours a week trying to make them all work together. And so today we're going to talk about how we really bring things together for your brand visually so that things are congruent on your site. I do have a couple of resources that I'm excited to share with you today as well. We'll be sure to include those in the description box below this video when we post it to our YouTube channel. And so if you're here today and you'd like a copy of those, just stay tuned for the replay that'll come out after the call today. What I would really love, because this really is about prettying your website, and I can give you guys examples all day, and I've got those prepared, and I'm happy to do that. If someone here today has pages or a page or something on your site that you would like to visually tie together in a more meaningful or congruent way, this is your chance to slide into the comments here and let us know that you'd like to work together because we can actually, show everybody how to do these great things today, and you'll get the benefit of kind of having it done for you. So if that sounds good to you, then I welcome you to either hop into the Q&A, send a message to us here in the chat on Zoom. And of course, we're happy to work with you with your real life examples of what you've got going on in your business. So don't be shy. We are here to help with that if that's something that you're interested in. So just a couple of quick housekeeping notes here at the top of the call. Again, if you are new here, we do this every Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern. This is open to anyone who might benefit from the trainings and the topics that we have out there. You don't have to be an AttractWell customer to participate in these calls and get the benefit from them. Although, of course, if you are, you're going to be learning more about how you can really get hands-on in your system and run a business with lower overhead and better outcomes for you and for your clients. So today, not everybody here today, actually, let me without assuming this first, let me ask you guys a question. How many of you would characterize yourself, if you were introducing yourself to someone, as a website designer, a graphic artist? Anybody? Got anybody here who is like, yeah, that's me. I've got a not at all and a no. Yep. Got it. Well, believe it or not, these aren't my titles and have never historically been my titles either. And because our system is so user-friendly, you're actually able to go in and manage these things yourself. Typically, you'd have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars to someone to create something like this for you. And then anytime you need it changed or modified in any way, you've got to go and pay them hundreds of dollars, sometimes an hour, to go in and make those modifications. We really believe in putting these tools into your hands. And if we go about this the right way, it doesn't have to take up a whole lot of your time. Most of this stuff is pretty simple. And ultimately, it's important for you to know, if you're going to own a bicycle, how to change the tire on it if it goes flat, right? So what we want to be able to do is make sure whether you are working with our team, because we do done for you if you wanted to do that. If you're working with our team for somebody to do it for you, or if you're doing this all on your own, you know how to go in and get those changes accomplished, make it look the way you want to, and for that to be something that doesn't come at a great cost of time or money for you. So we have a thing I want to show you first here. I'm curious if anybody here on the call, let me know in the comments or raise your hand. Do you have a brand guideline or a brand book in place for your business? This would be where you have defined the colors, the color palette for your brand, the fonts that you'll use for your brand, and maybe your logos and other types of images. We've got a couple here. Not yet, leaning towards greens. That's my favorite color, Misha. Awesome. So we've definitely got a couple of us have it, but not all of us. And some of us are being quiet. But here, I want to actually show you guys what a brand guideline can look like. And I'm actually going to be sharing this Canva file with you guys when we're done here today. So this is something that I would encourage you to have in place before you even get started, right? And that is a place for you to take your logos, and you should certainly have one that's horizontally aligned. And then definitely one or two that have more of a square orientation, because the logos for your brand are going to show up in a couple of different places. The horizontal one is going to be a really great thing to put at the top of your top corner of your website. And here, let me show you what that might look like. Right, so here's Jane's. It's got her little leaf guy right here. So this is an example of a horizontally aligned logo. Get back over here. And then a square logo is going to be something that might work better for you as a sort of a watermark, if you will, on social media posts and images that you put out there. Lots of different ways to pop this in somewhere. Your favicon, which is, if you look up here, see the little blue C for Canva, or this little target for AttractWell, that's a favicon. That's something that you should be including in here as well. So if we go to your website, you're going to actually show up with your own little brand stamp wherever you are. And then, of course, because brand guidelines are things that can shift, that your visual branding can change year over year, you can, of course, save a new copy of this for more branding that you're going to be setting up. And then, of course, here we can go through and modify colors, right? So I actually have a couple that are set up here, and here's Jane's. I'll go ahead and load this with Jane's. We've got our colors here, and I'm just clicking them and swapping them out. And so you know, this is set up as a brand palette in Canva, or a brand kit rather in Canva. So this is really easy to do. The other thing that we can certainly do here is just copy the code. See, when you have all of these things figured out, when you've got, you know, if you've got a color picker, for instance, that you can use when you're designing, then that's going to make it really easy for you to just grab from here, so you know what colors you're actually using. Or if you've got the hex codes, because every color does have a code that goes with it. If you've got the code in an easy to grab place, you can also very easily go into your site and swap out colors by copying and pasting the code into the place where you enter that on your site. And don't worry, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll be showing you in just a bit. Down here, we can select the script font that we want. I think it's nice to have some kind of a more decorative font, or something that's just a little bit bolder. You wouldn't use it all the time, but it's something that's a nice little accent. And then we need a heading typeface and a primary typeface, which is basically to say where there is heading font, it tends to be larger, bolder. And then, of course, just the regular font that shows up on our website is going to be whatever this one is. So in this case, we've selected these from Canva. You have lots of really great options to choose from that you can scroll through. If you go to text here, you can scroll through combinations and see what you like the most, and you can incorporate those into a brand guideline like this. I would recommend, however, in setting yours up, if you haven't done something like this yet, that you at the very least choose your primary typeface from this website, and that is fonts.google.com. This is free. You can get all of the different versions of these font faces for free from here. And you don't have to really jump through any crazy hoops inside of your AttractWell system to incorporate these. And another really important benefit here is, if you're going to be engaging in email marketing, specialized fonts, especially the really kind of highly scripty ones and things like that, don't always get read and translated by email providers readily or easily. So if you've got really specialized kind of funky font faces and you're emailing those out, it might not wind up looking like you really want it to when it arrives in someone's inbox. So best to use images in those cases where you want something that's just really pretty, but for the bulk of it, you're going to want to use something that's very common. Google Fonts is a great place to do this. If you do happen to choose a unique font, so like this Alessandra font, this is a font that if you need to add it to your AttractWell system, if it's not a free font, it is something that you're going to have to purchase. If you're working with our team, So if you go to attractwell.com/VA, for instance, this is something that we can support you in sort of selecting these things and getting them together for you. But you can also go to different websites and search for fonts, purchase them from the creators. And then we do have some instructions in our support center that show you how to attach those to your AttractWell account. So I do recommend, like I said, starting with some kind of a brand guideline so that you've got, at the very least, your palette figured out, because that's really going to assist you in the next step of this process. So let's go ahead and go over to our AttractWell dashboard. And we're going to go first to colors and fonts in your website. This is going to give you a lot of ease where it comes to making things show up the way that you want them to automatically. So for instance, if you want your link color to be green, as is the case here for Jane, we're of course going to want to select this color. When we hover over the link, it's going to look like that, right? So this is where we actually set those preset settings. So we can go in here and we do have some presets for you. If you like any of these, you can use and keep them. Yours, of course, is going to look like the standard AttractWell one before you change these. So I do recommend having a color for a link that is separate from the main text font in your system. Just because that's going to draw the eye there, because links are something we want people to click in text. And then of course, maybe your link color is not too crazy far off from your font color, in which case definitely make it change a little bit and interact with the user when they're hovering over it, right? So this one changes from green to red when we hover over it. This is our headline. This is going to be our headline font where it shows up in the system, the text of your menu. These are two things that you would be perfectly well served to keep black. But if you, in this case, we've got sort of like a really deep green color that can work as well, so long as it's very legible. Your menu text hover is going to work like a link. When we hover over it, it's going to interact with you. And so you do have the subtext here as well. Again, keep that on the darker side. And then for these other colors, secondary, custom, all of these are options for you to just grab and add colors that you know you're going to be using to your palette. So that if you want to change the color of a font, for instance, you can very easily just go and grab that from your color palette, because we do have a color palette picker in parts of our system, and it'll make your life easier. Now, your headline fonts, you can actually select them from presets that are in here. And I think all of these are probably Google fonts. So if you've picked your headline and your main font from Google, you're going to find these here with some exceptions. And I'll show you where you can add additional ones. And it wouldn't be, it's not like, you don't have to do anything crazy to do it. Anyway, but we can choose here whether we want the headline font, for instance, to be in all caps, or if we want it to be italicized, if we want it to be bold, and the range of sizes. So, and you can actually preview what it'll look like, right? So if we want it to be large or extra large, for instance, which is just so loud, we're just going to keep that one normal. Body text font as well, you'll be able to see where it shows up down here. Pick any fonts that you want from here, and of course, select those things. Final piece here, and this is for making things pretty and making your life very easy so you can design your pages and features in your system to look exactly as you want them to. Cannot recommend enough. It will take just a little bit of time for you. Make sure that you are modifying all of these buttons here, because some of them show up in different places in the system by default. So like for instance, in your member area, this leaf color here, this is going to show up when somebody is going through your the class in your member area. And so if your colors that are in your vault that you've set up there and in the online class, if they clash with this, then you're going to want to change this, of course, right? So we can change this pretty easily. I'll show you real quick. Maybe I want to make this a white with black outline. I think this looks really good. And it's not very long. So black outline. Fine, I'll remove the W. Okay, there we go. So the background color, I'm going to pick white. Text color, I will pick black. And you are seeing the color picker pop up as I'm doing this. And that means that you could click show colors. And if you happen to have your brand guideline open in a separate window, like I do right now, I can actually go click and grab that rusty red color. and it'll pop up right there, right? Because I do have that available for me to just grab from my screen right now. However, this is white with black outline, so I want black text, and I'm going to give a black border. I think I'm going to do a 2 pixel width border, black 2. So you can really customize these to your heart's content. I'm gonna just make this pretty, just like a nice little box all around. And so we've got a nice little graphic black button, black with white button. And so when I go into the member area, for instance, and I'll show you actually where this shows up. If we go into her vaults and view one of them, you can actually see this in action. So let me go click this guy here and go into this class. And now if I click one of these, there you go. You can see start class right here. That's now this black with white. And inside of here, it's also the black with white. So just make sure that when you are setting up your colors and fonts, that all of the buttons that you have on this page are reflective of your branding that you have selected, right? Because they are going to show up in different spots in the system. So make sure you save your changes, of course. And let's go over to, there's a link right here, this customize my site page, which you can also find in the menu. This is also where we can do a number of things here, but what we want to do is set up fonts. If you want a font that's not in the list of fonts that are provided on that colors and fonts page, you also have a lot of options. These are all, again, Google fonts. If you have found fonts from Google and they're not in the menu already, all you have to do is find it from in here, check it, and then of course you can add it. And there are custom fonts that you can certainly add here as well. So if you really loved a font that's in Canva and it's not one that's in Google Fonts, then you do have the ability to go and purchase that font or have a custom font made or whatever it is that you'd like to do. And the font code and all of this is something that you would be filling out in that case. And our team can help you with this if that's something that you need help with. All right, so that's it for the basics of the prettifying with the fonts that you want, as well as the colors. Let's also real quick cover your site logo. So going back to Jane's website, we've got her logo up here in the corner. If you would like to have your logo in the corner, make it horizontal, definitely. Also recommend that you make it a transparent background so that this doesn't have like a white box around it, because it would just have a white box around it. If your logo is one that has a solid color background, then cool, like just go for it and upload that as is. But definitely make sure that there isn't any kind of extra white space or anything like that, because it will show. Like in this part of our site here, you can see that there's like that gray background there. So it'll benefit you to have that transparent background logo. So when you get started with us, you'll have your name here, or it will, if you leave it blank, it'll just put your first and last name here. When you're ready to put a logo in, all you have to do is click logo image, and then you can choose logo image here from your device, or you can add a design from Canva for this purpose. And that again will show up all over your website in that top left-hand corner. If you want a favicon, which Jane has right here, you can upload this as well. This is going to be best as a square resolution. So you could use like a logo preset in Canva, which is inarguably too big pixel-wise. It's like 500 by 500. But it's, so long as it's a square resolution, it's going to be a good thing to put in that top corner there on your site. So once we have those two things done, we do have, by the way, other trainings on our YouTube channel where you can learn about and get a template for a website footer to really make that your own with your own colors and fonts, as well as a 404 page that reflects your branding as well. So those are the basics of getting started, having a color palette, knowing what your fonts are, going into your colors and fonts, putting those in, adding any additional fonts where you need them, and then uploading your logo and your favicon. And with those, you're off to the races. You can get started with building things like your page footer, your 404 page, your homepage, and so on. And we do have templates for all of these things, and you'll find those on our YouTube channel. Let's talk a little bit though about how on pages, because these really are sort of the body of what makes up your website, how on pages we can modify and make pretty different types of pages on our site. All right, I do have a couple of questions here that I want to address before we start barging forward. So Mark asks, how do you ensure the measurements are correct? So depending on what it is that you're trying to do, in a lot of cases, you're going to see recommended resolution sizes in our system, right? So if I go, actually, let me go back down here to, yeah, website header. So like, well, no, that one doesn't say it. Here we go. So here's an example. If you hover over this little information guy, Greg is suggesting in this case 256 by 256 at least, right? So we're giving you an example of a resolution size. The way that I like to ensure that measurements are correct though, Mark, is to actually start with templates inside of Canva. And that's also going to help me to have things in place later on that are going to be helpful to me in other ways. So here's a thing that you should know. Inside of your system, there is a sort of ideal resolution size for the cover photos for your online classes, for your vaults, and for things that could, images that could serve as sort of a header for your emails and for your blog posts or for your blog's main page, your blog archive. And what I do is I actually create a template in Canva, and I'll actually share the resolution here with you. This was, what do I call this one? Blog. Actually, I have a lot of different ones here. So here's a blog banner. It's 2240 by, let me tell you real quick, because this way you don't have to remember it. If you have it already set up in Canva, then you could just make a new one, right? So here's my member area header. Here's my online class header. I'll use this for my emails. I'll use this for whatever, right? So the size of this is 2240 by 560. So it's 2240 wide by 560 tall. And so you just create one and then you make a copy of it, right? So if this fits your branding, and actually in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to make this fit Jane's branding. So Jane here, I'm going to switch this to her yellow. There's her yellow. Switch this background color to her blue. Let's grab this little yellow here too. Let me grab him. Oh, there we go. We'll grab him and make him Jane's yellow. This is already her font. So yeah, so this is good to go. And maybe I want to give this a little bit more variety. I'll make this her green. And I'm going to take it just one step further and add just a little bit more contrast. There we go. All right, so here's Jane's blog. This would be the header for her whole blog. And you can obviously, pull a picture of yourself into a frame like this. And now you've got a nice thing that you can put at the top of your blog archive, right? But you could, if you already have the branding in place here and you like how this looks, then this can be, this is my, well, I would actually remove this. I wouldn't put this as like a member area header, but if you like the design, so maybe of this one, this is your blog one, but maybe for your member area, you delete these things, right? Because on the header images in your member area, it's just not really ideal typically to have text on them because it gets a little redundant. So, if you swap these out to your colors and so on, you've got that ability. So long answer, create a Canva template. And another one, and let me show you this real quick as well, because this does, lend itself to the prettying of your website. I like to use the blog featured image as a template as well. That's 1200 by 630. And this way, again, if you, if you're creating a new blog post or you're batch creating your blog post, which is the better thing to do, you can have a size template to work from, right? And I know a couple weeks ago, we did do a training on setting up your blog. A template just like this one is the one that she used to start creating her images. And so it just makes your life easier to start with that. All right, so let's go over Misha's total newbie question. Is this different from the Get Oiling website, paid differently, set up differently? So Misha, that is, Get Oiling is like a carbon copy of AttractWell. It's just very specifically for Young Living brand partners. So you can benefit from joining these trainings, getting the resources that we share here as a Get Oiling user. But if you have a business that is, not Young Living, then AttractWell is the place that you want to be. We just have a very specific brand set up that is Get Oiling for folks who are brand partners for Young Living essential oils. So we welcome you here either way. And it is a little bit different, but it's not very. I mean, it's kind of a carbon copy. We've just got a few more things that are very Young Living specific over there. So if you're Young Living, Team Young Living, then that's definitely a good place to be. Okay, so let's get into pages and talk about how we can make things really cool, really pretty with our page editor. So you do have the option to start with templates, whether they be things that we give you or from just starting something new. So if you want to start a new project on a page, we do have a number of different templates that you can choose from. From professional services, this would be like a work with me page, or offering someone an opportunity to book a call with you, like a strategy call. We've got a mission page, we've got about pages, we've got a link page for your link in bio. Lots of really good options here. And then of course, we have the template that you saw on Jane's homepage, which is here. And we also have that here as a template that you can use. So if we want to change the way this looks, of course, we want to make sure that we are doing this in keeping with our branding. And so that's going to mean a couple of different things. The images that you use, of course, need to be visually congruent with the palette that you've established and with really the brand that you have and how you want to show up. We want to make sure that our fonts are reflecting our brand as well. And I want to see, I don't know if I have that particular one in here, but I'll use this one. And of course, this one is in the brand palette. So anyway, we want to change the backgrounds. We want to change out the images, make sure that the fonts are congruent so that they're showing up across the website and that we're in keeping with the palette. So I'm going to start here in this section. I'm just going to click the little pencil here. Again, I do have two windows open on my computer here so that I can easily grab colors from one window, which is open to Canva, where my brand palette is, or just the published PDF of my brand palette. And of course, the other is here in the editor in AttractWell. So what I'm going to do first is change the background here. I clicked the pencil, and then you see background color. Here, we can pick a color from here, but if we want to make sure we're doing this right by our brand, we have a couple of options. I am on a Mac. This is going to look slightly different for you if you're on a PC, but the gist is going to be about the same. You may see a color picker like I have here, where I can go in and change the background to that blue that is in my brand palette. I could also, and this is going to be an option that you might see more prominently on a PC device, you can go over here and type in the hex code from your color as well. Of course, we would want to change this out. So I am going to go in and what we'll do, I'm going to get out of the section editor here. I'm going to click this guy, replace, and then I'm going to use this add design from Canva. And so in this case, it is square. There are a couple of things that are worth remembering. In this case, we want a design type that's called logo. Logo is going to be square in Canva, 500 by 500 pixels. And anytime you want something square, literally when you're designing your website, this is something I've just memorized and it's worth memorizing as well. Logo, just go for logo because Canva's preset for logo is going to fit a square perfectly, no matter what the application is on your site. All right, so it's an image. We're going to open, and you can put your own custom size in there as well. And then if Canva would like to respond, it's going to open up. And then, of course, we will go and create a new image there. I've never actually had it do this before. Let's go try that again. Maybe it's my website. Anyway, the other option that you have here as well is to just simply go to Canva and go to logo and click that. Another option as well, and this is something that you would find in one of our website homepage templates, where we've got some Canva image templates for you in there as well. Let me see if they're in here. Website images, I think is what I called it. Oh, it's right here, literally here, homepage images. You could also start from a set of templates like this one. Right, so in this case, join the challenge. That's what I want. So I do have this as an existing design. I could make some changes to it here, download it to my device, and then come over to this page and make those modifications. Because I didn't save, I have to redo this. Guys, make sure you save. All right, so let's try this one more time, Canva. And we're going to replace. And of course, because I'm doing this wrong, move this guy. All right. There we go. Canva button, logo preset. You could also, again, go custom 500 by 500, but in this case, we are going to do the default from Canva. This is why it didn't want to, I hadn't approved the cookie this time. Okay, so two options here. Show you something pretty cool. You can start from scratch, but if you have something in your system already, like a template, like the one that I just showed you, you can go to your existing work and find it. And so here is the join the challenge. Voila. In Canva, I want to add an image to the background of this. So in elements, I'm going to just search for the word healthy, because this is someone who is wellness oriented. And I'm going to use this image, and I'm just going to drag it over here until it just shows up in the background. Pretty cool, right? Now that it's still selected, because the white's not really popping enough here, it's kind of overpowering, I'm going to fade the transparency till the words really pop. Voila. All right, now I'm going to send that to AttractWell, and I'm going to put this right here on the home page. There we go. Perfect. And then let's go ahead and swap out our colors and our button color so that this fits Jane's branding. So this guy right here is pink right now. Again, let me make this smaller. Here we go. And what we can do here is go to style, and then we can select our colors. So here's that white with black outline that I made before, right? So now you can have some visual congruence here with how things show up in this part of your website. Now, this section here, this is what's called a parallax background. If we were to look at Jane's homepage, do you see how the content is scrolling over that section? That's called parallax. And so all you can do here is just swap out the image. If you're using the template, you could even make that section larger. You can, remove the font that's here or not. It's really up to you. Let me show you a couple of cool things we can do with this. So first, let's go ahead and change the background image, because the pastels don't really jive with Jane's brand. And this is another one that's worth remembering. If you're going to add an image to this section, like to the back of a section on your page, there is a Canva preset that works really beautiful for this as well. There's two of them, and they're both called banner. One is LinkedIn banner, one is blog banner. I'm not really sure of the difference in the resolution sizes, but both work. So if you type in blog, banner will come up. Use that default size, and we're going to have a nice big image that we can use. And in this case, I'm going to use healthy again, just to see if I can find some other, go to elements and search healthy. I may just use the one that I already did because it was just so colorful. So I'm going to set that as the image background and send it to AttractWell. Really simple. So it's going to add it to the gallery, and then we're going to be able to click to add it to the actual background of the section. There we go. So it's there. But here's the problem, right? This text, we can't read this. So here's what we need to do. We're going to close out our section background and hover over this text. You see the yellow box that shows up? We're going to click it. And we can do one of two things. You could change the color here so you have a better contrast, or we can make a nice little box that hovers behind this that lets it pop and hover over the top of the image in this section. The way that we're going to do that, see right now we're in the content editor, but we want to get into the style of the element styles editor here. So we're going to click this guy and similarly hover over where you see the field appear, this yellow, we're going to click it. And we're going to give it a background color. So right now the background color is white, I think by default. So I'm going to increase the background opacity. You see where it's starting to show up now, right? I'm not going to make it completely opaque. And we can blur behind it as well, which is also pretty cool. And then what we want to do is add a little bit of padding in the section so that it's not just so like stuck inside, right? So we've got some evenness here. And then we have lots of options. We can round off these corners if we want to make it like sort of an oval, lots of different options here. You can give this box a shadow. Again, just so much that you can do here, right? You can rotate it if you want it to kind of show up a little askew. Again, you can do all kinds of really fun stuff here. So I could shrink it as well if we want to do that. Okay, and you could also, this would be way too busy in this case, you could make this little sort of mini section in the section have its own image background as well, if you wanted to get that crazy with it. So there's that. Now, once you, again, if you're using a template that we have, then by all means, go through and swap things out as you like them. But where you find things that are designed similarly, if you want to repeat that design, you like how it looks, we can just replicate the section that we made here. Now we've got 2 of them, and use our little arrow to just pop down. And I'm going to replace this text here. If we just double click on the text, I'm going to copy it, close out of this. I'm going to delete that section that's not fitting our branding here. And I need to go back to the content editor. So toggle back over to this guy here. And then we're just going to click here and paste. Oops. You know what I didn't do? I didn't paste plain text. If you ever mess up like that, just repeat the action that you just did, which again here is really simple. I'm going to copy, pop them down. And there's one thing that you want to remember to do, and that is paste plain text, because you don't want to confuse the code that's happening behind the screen here. So what we do to do that is to go to more text, paste plain text, paste it in, and then paste into document. And now it's preserved all of our work, which is pretty cool, right? Again, we can repeat the process by going into, Canva and using a similar sort of structure to this guy here because it's congruent, again, in style. We can swap out the images to where they might look and fit a little better with the color palette and all of that. Obviously, you'd want to change an image like this to use your colors and so on. And let's create one more of these sections here. So that we can just make more of the rest of this page congruent for our site. Okay, so what others are saying. So let's copy that, delete the section, and then we're going to go, did I delete the wrong one? I did. Just go in and you're going to delete, you're going to paste plain text. So I want to be able to actually go in and show you some other places where you can make things pretty and congruent as well. So I don't want to go through the entire page, but let's go ahead and save. This is a new home page. And I'm going to save that. And then we'll take a look at it and you can kind of see how we've made things more visually congruent with Jane's brand. There we go. So obviously this is more vibrant and it is more in keeping with that palette that we set up in Canva. And you've still got that really cool feature where you can hover over. Another really cool thing you can do, you could take an image like this one that we have in the back or the background of here of this image, make that the whole background of a section. And just like we did here, where we created that box of text that's floating, you could do that here as well, where the first thing they see is this vibrant pop of color, if that's your style, and then what it is that you want to say doesn't have to try to compete with that if you're kind of creating that nice little background. If you guys have any questions, feel free as well as we're going through this to hop into the Q&A. If you have any requests to view anything in particular, then of course, feel free to ask that as well. So a couple of other places where I want to show you how you can make some modifications to how your visual brand is showing up. One of those, of course, aside from going in and doing those presets that we shared at the beginning, one of those is going to be on your blog. So definitely do check out our previous training on our blog. We did talk about setting it up and branding it, but you just do want to make sure in your blog settings that what you have here is visually congruent with your brand. So if you have anything in the header, the footer, and the post footer, and all of the sidebar and everything, that the images that you're using again are born of that color palette or congruent with it, so that this is all showing up the way that you want it to. A final place as well is going to be in your landing pages, which again is just a really simple tool that you can use to have one thing happen, right? On a page, you can have a lot of things happening, share a lot of content. On our landing pages, these are really designed to be just a quick, like, hey, here's what you need to know, put your name and email here. And so on these, you do have the ability to make some modifications and changes as well. You can put an image or your name up here, of course, grabbing an image from here. And on this button, I believe, Greg, how do we change the button color on this?
I don't think that one actually is changeable other than changing the original back in the colors and fonts. That is one of the limitations of landing pages. Yeah.
Yeah, so this would be an example of, so this like light blue color is not one of Jane's colors. So if you happen to, when you're in here, if you happen to see a color that isn't yours, then you want to definitely make sure you've gone back and made those changes to your palette of buttons, right? So that's one example as well. And yeah, that's it's more or less it. I mean, your events as well. If you're putting events on your website, again, using presets. Typically in events, I think a logo-sized image, a square, is going to work just fine, and you're able to have that start in Canva with maybe a template that you've created that works for other parts of your website, and just import that in to the new design that you're making, or simply make a copy of it inside the same file. I'm a big advocate of really putting all of the website images in one Canva file, so that if you ever need to reference something visually on your website on another page. So let's just say, for instance, on your home page, you have an image, a graphic that says, get on my email list, or something to that effect. When people click that and go to the landing page where they can sign up for your email list, what better photo is there for you to use than literally the one they just saw on your website? It's a visually congruent connection that you can make. So, so this way you're able to reference the work that you've already done. The fact is, on your website, there's not really a lot of new design you need to do. It's just really not. The best way to provide a great user experience is to provide a congruent one, where if they interact with something that looks like A and they click something, they kind of need to see A when they get there, right? Image A is here, image A is also here. And so this way you can actually go about creating things that work one way that can continue to be used over time. Similarly, in your emails that you send out, and oh, you know what, this is one more thing that I want to make sure you guys see, that's going to be really helpful for creating congruent branding off of your website and in the inbox of the people you're, whether it be your list, your clients, and so on. Under contact settings is this incredible tool called Saved Replies. Saved Replies are basically little mini templates or canned responses. It can be either or both. When you create a saved reply, basically what you're doing in the most general sense is you are writing down a thing that you often say or share in your business that would be shared one-to-one or one-to-many via email or text, and you're just popping that into this field, giving it a name for your own reference. If it's something that requires a subject line, like this is its own thing, then you're good to go, you send it off. But in a broader sense, you can create templates for yourself. So one of the things that I really love to do with saved replies is, for a lot of our clients, they'll use content that they have purchased from a provider of content, but they want to make it their own. So let's just say, for instance, there's monthly education newsletter that goes out for, for their customers. That's, educating them on products, right? This would be like for the essential oil users. And so you've got this stuff, it's kind of pre-written, it, pertains to the monthly promotions and things like that. So it kind of looks the same as everybody else who would be a brand partner of that company. However, maybe your team or your little group has a meeting the third Wednesday of every month, and you want to make sure that you include that. But when you're writing your email on the first of the month, or whenever it is that you're getting ready to send it, you don't want to have to go and write the same thing every single month, right? So here's what I do, and what I do for clients when we create something like this. We'll have, let me show you how I do this. Was it under paragraph? Is it? No, it's under more. I create a table. So there's two sections here. In the left-hand section, I'm going to insert an image. And so this would be like a graphic for whatever this week's call is or something right like that. So let me go to logo here to make a square. And then I'm going to go and reference one of my existing designs, because again, this is something that like I've already done this before. So I'm going to put this here, right? We'll just use the join the challenge. We'll send it to AttractWell. And it may be that it's already in your system, in which case you just want to click your library. I'm going to modify the size of this. And there's two ways to do that. You can click it and drag it, but I want to make sure that this is, I want it to be maybe 300 pixels. All right. So that's there. And then that's one side. And then the other side of this, did it actually insert? It did not insert into there. Sorry about that. Sometimes it doesn't work the way I want it to. Okay. In here is where we want to pop our image. And I've already uploaded it. So I'm going to pop it in there. Perfect. And now I've got this other box. So this is where we can say, join our live weekly call. And then the Zoom link here, topic here for this month, right? So this is now a thing that I can add to another email later, right? So this is just going to be join the monthly live call. That you can use this for your coaching programs. You can use this for customers, for content that you do regularly where you go live or something to that effect. Anyway, I'm going to create this saved reply and show you how you can actually use this again, which is just so exciting. So let's just say, for instance, it's time for me to send an email to my contacts. I'm going to filter for my, maybe my clients. I'm going to hit filter. Perfect. I'm going to go to actions. I'm going to mail. And so right here, I'm going to pop in maybe a newsletter template saved reply. So maybe I already have my email newsletter put together, which is pretty cool, where this is, this month's news. Imagine this is already designed, because you could do this where it's already designed and it looks the same every month. And then finally, I've got this thing that's already made. I'm going to hit enter a couple more times to create space. And let me go find that saved reply with the join the monthly live call. And now it pops straight in there, right? And it's already there. It's ready for you to use. So you're giving yourself a shortcut with these saved replies. And so you have the ability to create congruent branding with them. So for instance, using that blog, where is the one I was using? Yeah, this blog banner one. This is actually a perfect resolution to go at the top of an email that you can put into a saved reply, and you can have your button in there where you want it, your text where you want it. And then all you need to do the next time you want to send what it is that you're sending, you just pop your saved reply into your campaign message or into a message that you're actually going to broadcast out. And of course, you can make those changes just right there in the text. So that is the sort of final way that we can go about really making things nice and pretty and congruent across the site. All right, Lynn asks, is there a way to make the initial visual block smaller on the website? Yeah, absolutely. So I assume what we're talking about here is the section, right? The top section of the website. And 100%. The size of a section on your website is going to be determined by what's called padding, as well as the content of that section. So yeah, let's go take a quick look at that and and we can learn how to do that. I'm going to leave here and go to pages. And let's find, I'm going to type in the one that I was just doing. That was new home page. There we go. This is the one we were working on, right? So we want to make this section smaller or larger. So what we'll do here is either click edit or click the title. And then when we click this pencil to edit the section settings, so each of these are sections, right? And you can add sections by clicking the little plus sign, right? And you can add all kinds of different stuff in here. But if you want to adjust the size or the height of a section, you're just going to click the pencil and then scroll down to where you see background padding. In this case, we've just got 20 on the top and the bottom. You can move things left and right as well, right? But on the top, I've got 20. I could increase this or I could decrease it, right? Increase, decrease. So that's basically it. You're just going to increase the padding, and how much padding you use in a section is going to really depend on, what is the height of the content that you have there. And don't forget, as you're doing any of this, to go through and click, in this case, oh, this one is not visible on mobile. So we should actually take a look and see what these designs look like on mobile, for instance. Right, on tablet, which we may need to make some adjustments here, right? In which case we can make a copy of a section or design a new section so that it looks better in that view. And then finally on a laptop or a desktop computer, you can get that preview of how things will show up, right? Definitely do utilize that preview function so that you can see the work that you're doing. And if needed, you can. So for instance, this section did not look that awesome on these two devices. So I'm going to gray them out. See what I just did there? When they are all fully colored like this, then they're going to be visible on all devices. So what I'll do here is I will gray these out so that I can make another section where I will gray these guys out and make that section only visible on these smaller devices. That is an important point to bring up too, is, make sure that what you're doing is mobile responsive, because a lot of your visitors are very likely going to be interacting with your content on their mobile devices. All right. Do you guys have any other questions or requests before we get going? Looking forward to seeing what you guys are working on and making it beautiful. And definitely stay tuned for the replay link that'll go out today. In the attached YouTube video, you'll find these Canva templates. I'll put one in there for your brand kit, and then another for presets for your logos. And you guys can use those to your liking, and look forward to seeing how you pull this together. We'll be back at 2 o'clock Eastern time next week. If there's something you'd like to learn, be sure and let us know. Reach out, support@attractwell.com, or join our Facebook group. And we'd be happy to come up with more training to help you feel more confident about how you're showing up online and running your business smarter, right? So we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.